All right, so we have Marc-André Blouin in nomination in the Best Fiction Film category for the film The Trees Can Hear You. Congratulations, Marc-André.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here today with us. So we have a few questions for you. What made you go into filmmaking?
So I would say my interest in filmmaking started a while ago, probably right before high school. I think most people that love cinema will have had this moment where you leave the cinema feeling like a completely different person or just transformed by what you might have seen. So as soon as I felt that, I realized that movies are something I think I see my future in, or there's something that I would like to create in the future, because the feelings that I would have are feelings that I would want to make other people have. For example, the way movies would make me cry, I wanted to see if I could make other people cry, or the way that they would make me laugh and smile, I wanted to do the same thing for other people. And the same way they would make people think and sort of think about new ideas. I wanted to perhaps be able to try to do that as well. So that's kind of what made me want to go into filmmaking, just to be able to express my own ideas in a creative and artistic way. And what I really like about cinema is every director or every writer gives a piece of themselves in their film. And that's what makes it unique, that what makes it authentic. And I think everybody has something special to share with the world. And for me, in my humble opinion, I think cinema is the most powerful medium to do so.
Mhm. Great. And do you have specific messages that you would like to transmit during your career? Do you prefer certain messages compared to other ones, or?
Yes, messages I would like to transmit. I would say one important message is I want to make films that are honest. I want them to reflect the real world and sometimes show the bad parts of the world. For example, life can be great sometimes, but it can also be devastating. And I think it's important to show both. It's important to show how, pain and suffering could create these really strong characters and how it's something that we can all relate to on a certain level. Um, I also want, well, I would say that because of that, a lot of the films I like to do are usually satires or dark comedies because it allows me to take sensitive and sometimes taboo subjects and be able to express them in creative or comedic ways, which allows me to express these ideas in a way that's a bit more digestible to the public. It doesn't seem as crude. It's something that people could watch and think about. That's something that's always been important for me is making movies thought-provoking, making people think about certain ideas. It just allows the audience to sort of acquire perspective sometimes. And I think another thing I want to teach through my own filmmaking is that really anybody with a camera and a story could do it, or the trees can hear you. As much as I would have loved to work with a large crew and have a gaffer and a director of photography and an editor and all these other roles, unfortunately, with a very small budget, a challenge that a lot of independent filmmakers face, I had to just deal with what I had, and a lot of the work was split between my twin brother and I, and then I had a couple of friends come in as extras that really helped us put it all together. But at the end of the day, I think you can achieve quite a lot with very little in filmmaking. It doesn't have to be the highest quality camera. It really just has to be a great story and you have to have that passion to want to do it. I probably started making movies as early as elementary school, and I can assure you that the camera that I was using was not very great. It was probably some family camera that we brought on vacation that was, intended for photos and not videos necessarily, but we made the most of what we could with it, and that was the beginning. That was the beginning. And I like to work in movies. I like to make movies in the horror genre because I find it's a genre where you could really push boundaries. I find there aren't many rules and it's constantly reinventing itself. So I find it's a really fun genre to work in. And it allows you to get creative, with the story, with the supernatural elements, special effects, makeup, and whatnot. And I also think it's one of the easiest genres to produce because all it requires is, an idea that might be scary or horrifying in some way, and a lot of the rest you can do on your own. And I think that yeah, that would essentially be the message that I'm trying to share with my movies is that anyone could do it if they really want to.
Okay, great. And for the film that you submitted, The Trees Can Hear You, were you inspired by a true story or by the story of someone you knew, maybe?
Great question. So I would say part of it was inspired by real events. Part of it wasn't. I kind of came up with the idea one day when I was just walking in a forest and I was just observing the trees and I realized that, as beautiful as they are, there is something mysterious and dark about them, the way that they're just sort of everywhere and it's almost as if they're watching your every move. And the idea with the movie was to show, what if the trees that are watching could actually have an influence on somebody's life? What if these spectators could create an impact on that person's life, depending on what they are doing, if they're a good person, if they're a bad person? And I would say the idea of addiction is something that I would confidently say a lot of people can relate to. It doesn't have to necessarily be substance abuse. I know that's what it was mainly focused on, but I try to stress that I want the film to really be about addiction in general. It's about the psychological battle that we face when we are addicted to something, when we are obsessed with something. And, that could be the internet, for example, that could be gambling, it could also be drugs, it could be a number of things. And I wanted to sort of explore the mind of someone that is addicted and how they might create excuses to fuel their addiction, how they might try to justify it based off of their past and whatnot. But I would say one of the main points of the movie is that while an addiction is a very tough battle to fight, it's it's a battle that you're fighting with yourself. And if you want to become the winner, it starts with yourself. That true change comes from within. And that's the message that I was trying to express in that movie. So, I've had a fair share of addictions here and there. I wouldn't say to the extent of what's in the movie. I've never suffered from any extreme substance abuse, but I wanted to just try to take the idea of addiction and express it in this way. And using cannabis, for example, was just a way to bring in a supernatural element, a drug that alters perception. That was the idea, something that, could, well, I guess in the movie, the drug that in question is a bit ambiguous. So I was able to sort of determine what the effects were. So in the case of the movie, I kind of made them, they would make this character hallucinate, they would make the character paranoid, they would make the character interact with the environment. So I found that bringing in, the idea of a drug would just allow me to get a lot more creative with the environment and the idea.
That's so great. Thank you for making this film, Marc-André. It's very inspiring for a lot of people. And
Thank you.
where can we follow you? Do you have a website?
So the best way to follow me would be on YouTube and Instagram. My handle for both is shot by Marc-André, all lowercase all together. And that's where I'll be posting the majority of my new filmmaking and videography work.
Okay, great. So we'll keep you updated for the screening. So it's going to be on the 22 of the month of May at Cinema Beaubien. If there are any changes, we'll tell you, but normally it will be on the 22. So we'll keep you updated for the prizes as well. But for sure, we hope to see you on the 22.
Excellent. Yes, of
Yeah.
course, I will be there.
So thank you very much to again for being here today and for submitting your film. And we'll talk soon about the rest. I'll send you the YouTube interview with the link to follow you underneath the in the description of the video.
Perfect. That sounds amazing.
Great. So have a nice rest of the day and we'll talk soon. Thank you again, Marc-André.
Thank you, Edwise. Take
Merci à
care.
toi. À bientôt. Bye.